Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit HomeGain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to HomeGain.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Real Estate 360 Live. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper, joined today by my guest, Louis Cammarosano, the general manager of HomeGain. Reminder, if you have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to me is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030, or via the web at realestate360live.com. That's realestate360live.com. On the right-hand side, there's an Ask a Question button. That's the best place to go to ask your question. Put your name and contact information, and we'll get back to you. It's time for this week's Credit Tip of the Week, and it was brought to you by the Credit Pros. Damon Descrescenzo is the one that actually puts out these credit tips for me. And this week, he's saying that, it might be wise to actually avoid taking out a Macy's credit card. And or if you currently have one, that you might want to, pay it off and leave it paid off. Not close it, but pay it off. Because we talked about a couple weeks back that when you close the account, it stops rating it at all. Obviously Damon had went into detail in this tip and said that the Macy's credit cards are one of the most commonly issued cards in the United States. But the problem is they have fundamentally their biggest problem with is the way they report the information to their credit bureaus. In most clients' reports that Damon has reviewed, Macy's fails to report a high credit limit. So he says, what does this mean for you and for your clients? Well, if you don't have any high limit, by default, everyone with a balance is considered maxed out. So there is no debt ratio because as far as FICO is concerned, you've charged all that you're allowed to charge, even with a $10 balance. Maxed out, he says, equals not good. So, what's worse is that spending limit decisions are often made, at the register, leading to, embarrassing declines and angry clients and unhappy holidays. But his biggest thing is, you might just want to take your business elsewhere, pay it off, and leave it paid off. Now, Louis, this is an interesting one because I don't know if you know, but I know hundreds of people that have Macy's cards, right? And they don't even know that this exists because, you spend $10, $15 and it shows a balance of that, but then it also shows your high credit limit is the same. About, at least 30-some% of your credit scores is the proportion of balances to high credit limits. Now, this is not only going to affect you, on your credit score. This is going to affect your ability to be able to purchase a home once again. I mean, all of it plays right back into, what you're trying to do is set yourself up to be in a position, to have very high credit scores so that you have the best chance of getting money lent to you. Well,
can you explain then, Ryan? Does it make sense to have a Macy's card with a $1,000 credit limit but only $15 outstanding?
Well, here's the thing. They give you normally they'll approve you up to a certain amount, right?
Right.
Macy's will. The problem is they don't report that amount on their credit report. You see what I'm saying? So even if you had a $1,000 high credit limit, they don't put that $1,000 on there. They put whatever your balance is. So if you rented up to $500, they say your current balance is $500 and your high credit limit's $500. So it looks like you've maxed out the card.
So it's better to use your other cards where you have some headroom on them, isn't it?
Absolutely. So instead of using a Macy's card, use any other credit card where you have a true $1,000 spending limit. It's going to show that on your credit report as a high credit limit. And if you only borrow, $300, then it's going to show that your proportions to your high credit limit is in line. They like to see it, stay around the 30% marker. So you want to keep your credit cards. I know a lot of people always ask me, what percentage do you recommend keeping your balances to your high credit limits? I always say 30% to be safe because, anywhere between 30 and 40 is okay. But if you keep it at 30, so if your high credit limit's $1,000, keep that. Don't let your balance go over $300. You're really gonna see a significant jump up in your credit score. But this is troubling just because the fact that it is one of the most commonly issued cards in the United States. This is probably a problem for many people. And if it's one of the only credit cards you have, you're in big trouble. Because
most people have them. Most people have them, and like myself, I rarely use it. But if I do use it, and it's a small amount, I might not pay it off.
Right.
You're making a very good point that it looks like I'm maxed out on my Macy's card, even if it's only for $85.
And this has been a problem with Macy's forever, and they've never actually went back and fixed this. I think that they should be breaking some kind of rule, right? I would think that. But apparently they've been getting away with it for a long time, and then they're going to continue to do it. So the only thing that you can do is just, like I said, take your business somewhere else and put that money on some other card. Pay it off and leave it paid off. Don't close it, once again, because if you've been rated on that Macy's card for, 20 years, or whatever, you don't want to ruin that history. So just pay it off and leave it paid off. This is just another little small tip that can,
use it as a almost as a debit card as soon as you use your Macy's card, pay it off.
Exactly. Yep.
Because sometimes they offer specials if you use their card.
Yeah, and that's normally the incentive, right? You go into one of those stores where they'll say, okay, if you take out a card today, we'll give you 40% off your purchase, right?
Right.
So if that's the case and you're taking advantage of the savings there, just make sure that you turn around, you pay that thing off as soon as possible. You know what I mean? Don't leave that balance month after month because, like I said, it's going to be reported month after month, and it appears as if you're maxed out on that card. So that's just that could be the difference in 30 to 50 points in your credit score right off the bat. Just one little card.
That's a great tip, and it doesn't cost you much to do that one. Just to pay, you just need to know that.
You just need to know that. Yep. And like I said, these tips they're meant to help people because you need to be armed with this information so that you can make smart decisions that will ultimately help you down the road if you're trying to get another auto loan or trying to get a home loan. This could be the difference between 30 to 50 points and sometimes more, depending upon how many other credit cards you have.
You mentioned auto loans. Does it make sense to, let's say you have a 2 or 3 year payment schedule remaining on your auto loan, does it make sense to make a couple of extra payments? Does that help, or is that just a waste of time?
Well, auto loans, it's kind of one of those things. It depends on how long you've had the auto loan for, right? Because a lot of the times it's not going to report necessarily positively until you have that history of at least 12 months on that loan because it's still too new. Does that make sense? So if you're deeper into it, I always, am a big advocate of, especially if you're paying interest on it, you can eat into that amortization schedule to, make some extra payments on it. But if it's in the beginning portion of that, it's really not going to do you any good because one of the things that shows up on a credit report is like how long you've had these accounts for. That's one of the things you get rated for. So I don't think it's that critical to do that at that point. But if you've had it, like I said, if you've had that auto loan for a year or two, at that point and you want to make your extra payments, feel free to go ahead and do that. But it's not going to really change your credit score that much by doing that.
Although you're probably paying higher interest on your car loan than you would be your mortgage, so it makes sense to swap one debt for the other. If you're
and because many and the auto lenders, I mean, there's what's really interesting is that there's a big market for I want to almost call it like subprime lending in the auto world, where you hear people getting like 18-19% car loans, right? With their credit that's somewhat dinged up. That used to be the mortgage world, where you could find any type of loan for any type of credit situation, and it's completely changed now. Now the mortgage market, nobody wants to touch it, but I still think there is a little bit more of an appetite on the auto loan side. But you want to prevent yourself from getting stuck paying 18-19% on the auto loan. You want to try to get those credit scores up over 720, and an auto loan even over 740. You can qualify for premium financing. A lot of car dealerships offer that 0% for well qualified buyers. They always say that. So you need to be putting yourself in that upper echelon, that 700 plus credit score, so that you can take advantage of those. And for some people, leasing, I mean, that's could be a cheaper option, but you need those credit scores. So really,
does that help or hurt your credit score if you have a lease out?
It's pretty much rated the same as a standard auto loan. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's pretty much rated exactly the same. So the key on those is just making sure that you're just making all your payments on time with those. And it's just going to be, it just takes time, like I said, for that account to mature and before you can start, gaining the good credit scores from having another open account on there.
But your lease as a renter of a home does not count towards your credit score, unlike you're saying the auto does.
Correct. However, this is another good tip, guys. So if let's say that you're renting from a management company an apartment, right? And you've made payments on time for over 2 years. One of the things that you can do is you can get that added onto your credit report, basically as an alternative trade line. okay? Because you can get verification. The credit bureaus can call the management company and get the proper information and get that added onto your credit report. Most of the time, management companies aren't going to report on your credit report that you've made payments on time, but they're very likely to come after you for a judgment if you don't make payment, right? Where it would show up on there. So why not, take the extra step and say, hey, ask your lender if you can potentially get that added on as an alternative trade line.
Does it have to be a management company, or can it be an individual?
Okay, so that's a catch. That's it sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. Okay, because if it is a private one, they might require that you have canceled checks for the last 2 years or year. You know what I mean? And if people are paying cash, they're very leery about just taking somebody's word, right? Because they could just say, hey, that's my brother. So it's a little bit more difficult, but it can be done. Once again, though, guys, this is just something that you guys can look into. Make sure you're working with somebody that will give you these details. We're coming up on the end of the show, but if you're starting your home search, looking for a great place to start and want to compare realtors anonymously, Louis, where can they go to do that?
Homegain.com. You can go and compare realtors anonymously. Fill out your profile. Tell us what you're looking for in a realtor, whether you're buying or selling a home, what your time frame is, the price of the home you're buying or selling. And we'll send your profile out to agents. We won't tell them your name. They'll respond back to you. You check them out. You determine whether they're right for you. And if they are, you can start working with them. It's a great way to compare realtors without having to spend a lot of time getting referrals. And the best part about it is it's anonymous. They respond to you, and when you're ready to contact them, if and only then you contact them through our system. It's homegain.com, and thanks, everyone, for checking that out. And thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Louis. Thank you, guys, for tuning in, guys. We'll be back again next Monday from 9 to 10 in the morning. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to give me a ring. It's 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. Have a great week, guys.